This question has been going around lately. There'll always be those groups that are excited to see something die, which is a bit weird to me. It's very much a overreaction. I don't think Mobile Legends will die over something like Wild Rift coming out. That's just not how games die. That is never how games die. And that has never been the case, ever, in history. I mean, just look at say you had Dota, and then League of Legends came out. Dota didn't die, League of Legends was still successful, and both games are just doing their own things now. I think that'll very much be the same case for Mobile Legends and Wild Rift, because they are two completely different games. They are so different. I mean, even comparing them is just strange at this point. It's like you're gonna compare a shooting game to a fighting game. You just can't compare the two of them. They're very much their own things. They're very different. And if people want to go to Wild Rift from Mobile Legends, that's understandable, because Mobile Legends is very much stuck in one place. It's very much the same. It's very predictable. New hero comes out, it's gonna be OP. They nerf the old heroes, then they revamp the old heroes, and then everything just pretty much just stays the same. When I get into a game of Mobile Legends, I can predict everything the enemy is doing and what they are going to do. It's very boring in that way. I guess that it just gets that way when you know a game too well and the game doesn't change in that sort of sense. League of Legends Wild Rift is very different from Mobile Legends. So some new change, will be fun. I'll probably upload a bit of Wild Rift when it comes out. The differences. Mobile Legends, you just, you go in your lane, you clear your lane, you take some jungle camps, then you go gank. For League of Legends Wild Rift, you do not just clear your wave. It's never that simple, really. You gotta fight a tug of war back and forth in your lane with the person you're going against. It's very much a you versus that person, or those people if you're in the marksman and support lane. It's very much a more you versus them kind of thing, rather than in Mobile Legends where you just go off and do your own thing, and no one person is really against you. The whole team is against you in general, so you just try to pick off people. But in Wild Rift, that early laning phase, a lot different. You gotta last hit, otherwise you'll get almost no gold, and you'll fall behind very quickly, and then you won't be able to do anything. And you just go against that person in your lane for a while. And then the jungler comes, and you gotta watch out for him. That's another difference. There's a jungler in Wild Rift, unlike Mobile Legends where the only person roaming would be a tank and the mid lane. Well, if you're lucky, a tank, because that's very up in the air in Mobile Legends right now. Sometimes people just don't want to play tank. But anyways, the jungler in Wild Rift will take all the jungle, right? You just leave him the jungle, unless the jungler wants to give mid a blue buff, because the blue buff is very strong, and if you have a good mid laner that rotates and stuff and helps the jungler gank and such, that's very, very valuable. So you might want to give that mage a blue buff, but if you don't, hey, it's your decision if you're the jungler. So the jungler, roams around. He's got to be aware of every enemy's position, even the enemy jungler. It's very much a war of vision, which you really don't see in Mobile Legends, because you can just predict where everybody is in Mobile Legends. It's a very small map. The heroes are very fast in Mobile Legends, so it's very easy to predict where they are, where they're headed, what they're doing. While in Wild Rift, you have wards, but it's very hard to know exactly what the enemies are doing at all times. It's going to be very different in that way, which I like. I like when I can't predict everything. A bit of randomness, a bit of chaos just adds a bit of spice, and it is always needed. So, in Wild Rift, tanks will actually be tanky. In Mobile Legends, if the enemy team is like behind, or even if they're like at the same level as your team, the tanks will still get bursted out pretty easily. I don't really think I agree with that. I think tanks should at least be able to take a bit more damage. Like, it doesn't make sense, like, this person who's supposed to be like the focus of like all of your initiations and game plans just dies so easily to like any enemy carry. But in Wild Rift, the tanks are very tanky, and they've got really valuable AoE crowd control, and they also do a ton of damage. That's always useful too. I mean, if you initiate when you're a tank in Wild Rift, getting a lot from that. You'll be damaging everybody, you'll be crowd controlling everybody, then your team can just come in and pick everybody off. In Mobile Legends, when you're a tank, you just go in, pop a crowd control skill, you maybe stun a few people, you do no damage, and then you get bursted if your team doesn't come fast enough. Which is very sad, which is why people are very hesitant to play tanks in Mobile Legends. If you're going to Wild Rift from Mobile Legends, I recommend playing tank. You know, you can just go with your marksman, or you can play support. Supports in Wild Rift will also be valuable because, again, the supports will be doing a lot more damage compared to Mobile Legends supports. Very valuable crowd control skills, but that really can't be said about the sports in Mobile Legends. They're probably the role that gets the least amount of love in Mobile Legends, sadly, so you don't see them a lot. So yeah, two very different games. Last hitting, junglers, the balance is very different. 4 skills instead of 3, so that's a lot of fun. Instead of only some heroes having 4 skills, like in Mobile Legends, every hero has 4 skills. And they all have passives too. And Wild Rift, well, League of Legends in general, cares a lot more about their heroes. Like, they put a lot more into the voice lines, they put a lot more into the interactions between heroes, they put a lot more effort into like themed things. Care about their heroes as like a personality sort of thing. I don't know, it's sort of hard to explain, but a lot more care goes into them that way. And we'll be seeing a lot more of that in Wild Rift because they'll just be adding that in from PC League of Legends. So you might just be playing a character and you might just like play that character because you like their personality, you like their goals, you like their beliefs, whatever. So that's also very interesting. So all in all, there are two very different games. Their pace is a lot different. Like Mobile Legends, you just get level 4, roam, and then you gank. You may not even get level 4 before you gank. You may get like level 3 and just hope to get level 4 off of the wave you're rotating to. And in Wild Rift, it's more like, you know, farm a bit, get your ults, then try to get something. You might not get it, but then you just sort of repeat that. You get some more golds, head back to base, heal up maybe, you know, try to gank again. And all that time, while you're trying to gank as a jungler in Wild Rift, the enemy laners are fighting against each other. The mid's trying to outplay the enemy mid. Solo laner is trying to outplay the enemy solo laner. The ADC and support are trying to outplay the other ADC and support. It's very different from Mobile Legends, where it's just you kill somebody off, but now the whole team is after you, trying to get you. That will not be the case. And it's a very you versus your counterpart in the enemy team, instead of you versus the enemy team, and also your team, which is constantly feeding. So I'm looking forward to that change. I'm very much a fan of that sort of gameplay. You as a player, as your skills versus the enemy's team's counterpart of you. I think that's very cool. The Drake and the Baron, they give different buffs between like the turtle the turtle and the lord in Mobile Legends. So the Baron will give your minions a buff and your team a buff, which helps you really push. Will the Rift Herald be added? I don't think the Rift Herald is in, so yeah, don't worry about that. But the Drake will also give your team a buff, and it'll give gold. So it's like the turtle, but it's for everyone, and there's different buffs depending on which Drake you kill. So that's very different. I like it a lot. The Baron also gives your entire team gold. It's a lot different from Mobile Legends. So I don't think Mobile Legends will die because they're just like two very different games. Some people might like it more, some people might like it less. All in all, it really will not affect Mobile Legends, and also it will not affect Wild Rift's growth because they'll have like two completely different audiences, you know? It's not like Mobile Legends holds like all authority over all mobile gamers ever. That's just not the case. People who don't play Mobile Legends, or maybe people who do play Mobile Legends is looking for something different, those are the people that will be playing Wild Rift. Mobile Legends will not die, and it won't die for a very long time, unless like Moonton goes bankrupt and they shut down all the servers. See, that's how a game dies, not by another game coming out that's completely different.
Oh fuck! Oh shit! Oh,
Mobile Legends is dead! Somebody hacked it. Everything's going to hell. Everything's where's the light? Where's the light? I don't know. Which way is up anymore? Mobile Legends is down forever. Why?